Hey everybody, it's Justin from Bittner Built, and today we're going to be talking about the humble caster. You know, the wheel on a swivel that we use on all of our things here in the shop and many other things in our normal everyday lives. And I was prototyping out a new router table for here in the shop, and I was looking for something very specific and I couldn't find it. And I stumbled upon a new type of caster that I had never ever seen before. So I thought, you know what? Let's do a little quick overview. It'll be a quick, short video. We'll look at all the different types of casters, what their use cases are, what the pros and cons are for each one, and I'll also show you this new type as well, because I think it's pretty cool. It could be used out here in the shop, but it could also be used in furniture too, because you can hide it, which is very neat. So let's get into casters today on Bittner Built. All right, let's start off by looking at our typical undermount caster. So it is a caster with a plate at the top that we mount. It comes in many different sizes, and of course, sizes also typically contribute over to their weight rating. You have things that'll hold anywhere from 20 pounds up to 1,000 pounds on these types of casters. They can either be solid or they can be inflatable once you get to a certain size. And a lot of them have locking mechanisms, and a majority of them swivel, but they can also be locked. So there's a whole bunch of variations with these, but they're all basically in the same core group here. So, you typically have your standard swivel. It uses ball bearings on the inside, so it is a smooth swivel process. You have ones that have locks. Typically, there is two different locking mechanisms, but there are many, so I'm just going to review the main two. On this cheapo blue one, first off we have a plastic foot pedal here that engages a metal flap, a springed piece of metal underneath it to hold the wheel in place. So as it snaps down, it's applying a lot of pressure to that wheel to keep it from moving. Now, this method only controls the fact that it stopped the wheel from moving, but it has nothing as far as control goes for the swivel action. And I'm going to show you an example of why that's very important in a minute. When you go up to something like this, even though both of these are exactly marketed the exact same, caster with brake, and this one is also listed as caster with brake. This one, in addition to locking down the wheel with the same type of mechanism, this one being metal, it also locks down the swivel function. So when I unlock this, we swivel again. And so what I did was I took apart one just so I could show you on the inside here. And basically what it is there's a whole bunch of teeth on the inside. And when I engage the lever, these three prongs on the inside engage, and so now it prevents that gear, let's call it, from being able to swivel. So if you are doing any sort of object that you don't want to move when it is in the locked position, you definitely want to get one that not only locks the wheel, but it also locks the swivel function. Let me show you why. So this is my old router table that I'm going to destroy and rebuild again. And when I built this, I used those blue, cheaper casters that only lock the wheel but not the swivel action. So watch what happens when I lock one wheel down. I can still move it quite a bit. Two wheels, still move it quite a bit. 3 and 4 wheels, it still moves. The wheels are kind of wobbling the whole thing along because it can still swivel. The fact that the swiveling has not stopped does not keep the movement from stopping. So that can be a problem for you if it's something like a laser, a 3D printer, anything with moving parts that's on top of here, or just the fact that, it's dangerous to be using a power tool that could move on you, especially if you're applying pressure to it. So you want to make sure that when you're building something that you're working on, that it locks both swivel and the wheel. Our next type of caster is a retractable side-mounted caster. So these are mounted on the side of a unit, not underneath. And what these are is it's a leverage system. So this wheel is free floating right now because the lever is not applying pressure to it. That means that it's sitting on the actual structure that it's mounted to, so whether it be feet or the entire structure is sitting down on the ground. That means there's no wheels, no castors right now. So if you need something stable, this is a very good solution because when I don't want the wheels engaged, they don't have to be. They are completely out of the picture. When I'm ready for them to be engaged, I place this lever down, and the lever literally, it might look like it's lifting this up, but in reality, it lifts up the entire structure off the ground just a teeny bit, and then that way you can roll. And then you can release the lever and it will fall back down again. I'll demonstrate this on my table saw because a lot of table saws have this as well. So as you can see on my table saw, I have the same type of mechanism. The wheel is completely free floating, but when I bring this down, it's going to apply pressure to lift the entire structure up. And so now we've lifted the table saw about 1/4 of an inch off the ground. That is enough clearance. As long as the feet are not touching, even just a hair, it's enough for me to move this around. So there's a lot of benefit with these in the fact that you have a structure that is firmly down on the ground when these are not in use. The negatives to these are that they stick out the side of whatever you have it mounted on, and you need it on the outside so that you can actually get your foot in order to press that lever down. If it were hidden on the inside, you wouldn't be able to access it, couldn't engage it. Now there are a lot of models that are removable. This one isn't, but there's typically like a pin that you can pull and take them off. So if we're talking about my big assembly table here, I would, put them on when I need to move this, take it off when I don't. That way I'm not kicking it or anything on the side when it's not in use. The next type of caster is a leveling caster, and unfortunately I don't have a loose one to show you, but I'll put a picture up on screen so you can get a better look. I have them on this cabinet right here, and what it enables you to do is it has a wheel, a caster on there, so I can pull this around wherever I want to, but it also has a rubber foot that descends when I spin the wheel that's on here. So if I give it a couple spins till it's giving me some resistance, the rubber foot has descended and now it's what's touching the ground, not the wheel. And the more I crank this, the more it raises it up. That also gives you the second valuable asset, that you can level this if it's not level. So even if you're just not on a level floor, you can crank up some of these feet more than others to create a level surface that's also stable. The negative on this one is you really have to get down on the ground and spin this thing. It is not as easy as just pressing it with your foot like the typical casters and the side-mounted caster are. So this involves more time and it requires access. All three of these have a manual engagement that you have to either step on or spin a dial or flip a switch or whatever it is for that particular type, but you actually have to have access to it to do it. This laser station lives over here, and so it spends 99% of its time right here. And I installed these types of feet on it because when this machine is moving, it can make the entire thing rock if it's on wheels. So I can easily access this one and this one in the front, but it's actually really tough for me to get to the two in the back just because I have it so close to other walls, and you always have junk and stuff piling up in your shop wherever you can throw it. So I end up typically only leveling the front 2 feet when it's in this position. And if I'm working on something that's really critical, I end up pulling it out and doing it that way. That to me is a negative. So you do need to bear that in mind, that if it's living in a space where you're going to use it, you need to be able to access the locking mechanisms or the raising mechanism in this case so that you can actually fully use it. The last caster, and the one that I never knew about until like 2 weeks ago, is the auto-retractable caster, and this one's called the Smart Caster. They sent this out for me at my request, so thank you very much. This guy, basically what it does is you have no foot lever to press, you have no dial to turn. So this can actually be completely hidden inside a piece of furniture if you want to, because what you do to engage it is you lift the entire piece of furniture like half an inch. And when you lift it up and then put it back down again, the wheel engages and you can roll it around. And then when you lift it up half an inch again and put it back down, it's now back down on the floor resting on the feet of the furniture. So that's pretty cool. Now, every single one of these casters has its pros and cons. The pros over here is that I don't have to touch this thing. When we were looking at that cabinet for my laser a second ago, it's really hard for me to get to the back two casters there. So if this was what I was using, it wouldn't be a problem anymore. So that solves a problem. A negative over here is that it obviously, you can't lift a 1,000-pound object to engage the wheels. My giant workbench right here is over 500 pounds. I could never lift it. So these are going to be limited to more to items that you would have the physical capacity to lift up a little bit. But you only have to lift it up like a smidge and only a half at a time. So you can engage half of a workbench and then engage the other half, and then it's off. Another benefit, like as opposed to these guys, is it's not sticking out. It's obviously a side mount, but this can be mounted on the inside of a cabinet rather than only on the outside where it needs to be accessible for this lever. So pros and cons, pretty cool. This comes in a 2-inch and a 2.5-inch. The 2-inch is 175-pound capacity. The 2.5 is a 200-pound capacity per caster. So you're looking at like 800 pounds for 4 of these on one of these. I'm going to build a skirt real quick to kind of simulate like under a cabinet, and we'll just see how these work so it's hidden. All right, so I took some scrap. I just made a little box skirt here so we could pretend that this is a cabinet up on top of here. It's on its structure right now, so it's not moving, but when I want it to move, I would lift up one side of it for a second, engaging those wheels. I'd lift up this side, and now I have a full rolly cart. And then when I want it to go back again, same thing. Lift it up, put it down, lift it up, put it down, back down on the structure again. So pretty cool if you want a recessed, hidden, no influence type of caster. All right, well, that was my review of casters. You know, there are primarily 4 different main groupings. There are more. There are offshoots and all sorts of weird different types of casters for very specific individualized things. But I will link all of these down below if you want to check them out. But if you have any cool types of casters that you use in your different products in the shop or things that you're selling, go ahead and link them down below too. I'm sure everybody would be interested to know. Share that wealth. I hope you got a lot of good content out of this video. If you did, I hope you'll hit like and subscribe. You know, that subscribe button is free to you, but it definitely helps me out with growing this channel, so I'd really appreciate it. Stay safe in the shop, and I'll see you in the next one.